Take it. The gab. The gift of gab. Got the gift of gab. Hold on. Gotta fucking get all this shit going. Blah, blah, blah. Self-promotion on the internet. Etc., etc. Oh, God. This is going to be a short one, guys. I don't really have that much to say. Etc., etc. Let's see. Well, I got to turn that off. Sup, Tritionalists, sorry in. How's it going? New York City had a bomb scare in the Upper East Side. What's going on with that? Let's see what's going on. Police recover third device in ongoing Manhattan IED investigation after 2 arrests. Smells like Smells interesting. NYPD announced Sunday that a third suspicious device had been recovered. Dueling protests outside Gracie Mansion. 81st and 82nd Street, East End. Well, one protest was organized by right-wing activist Jake Lang to oppose public Muslim prayer. Oh, the incident unfolded Saturday morning near East End Avenue, East 87th Street, steps from Gracie Mansion, the official residence of New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Police initially kept the groups separated. Tensions escalated to pepper spray. 18-year-old counter-protester ignited and threw a device towards the protest area. Amir Balat and Ibrahim Kayumi were taken into custody. Apparently they threw a device. I don't think either blew up or anything. 3 federal law enforcement sources told Fox News that one suspect allegedly shouted Allahu Akbar before igniting and throwing ID into the ground. Yeah, this sounds like some fucking false flag bullshit. It's like so fucking like it's just fucking retarded. The kind of bullshit that's being kind of, you know, the homemade bomb didn't go off. Wow, real surprised there. They scream they scream Allahu Akbar, and a Zohran Mamdani protest. Like, first of all, every fucking Muslim who's, like, connected to, like, actual what's going on, they already knows that Mamdani's a fucking Zionist. Right? It's such stupid fucking bullshit that they're trying to be like, they don't have enough people that are chanting the war drums for Iran, so they gotta fucking make up some bullshit. So only the beginning, New York's gonna get funkier. Do you think they're trying to stage some false flag in the States to rile up people joining the war? I don't know about riling people up to join the war, but maybe not protesting as much. Either, the idiots will believe it, right? And I guess be okay, or like parrot the line of like, we need to get these Iranians or whatever. And there might be people who see this as kind of like oh, well, that's the end of my support. I'm not going to risk my neck and going out to any sort of protest or whatever, because like somebody might like throw a bomb at me or some shit, Wearing I Love Allah t-shirts like in Austin. Yeah. At this point, I almost feel like it's like trolling. It's almost kind of like the purpose now is not to convince the American public either way. The purpose right now of all this shit is to get people so black pilled that they're not going to do shit. You know what I mean? It's like every single provocation was just kind of like, oh, what are you going to do about it? Oh, we released the Epstein files. Oh, Trump had sex with his daughter now? I don't know. Some crazy shit. What are you going to do about it? You didn't do anything about it last time. You didn't do anything about it the 20 other times we did something. So we're just going to keep doing this. And then, you know, what it's going to do is it's going to affect the average person. Kind of in this like feedback loop of like, well, I guess nobody did anything after those things, so I guess there's nothing to be done because nobody can do anything against this thing. You know, it's basically now they are trying to like black pill everyone to the point of just accept it, accept the inevitable, and accept the inevitability of what is happening right now because you can't stop it anyway, you know. And by constantly giving something new, you know, you don't really remember. I mean, you kind of remember, but it's just kind of like it doesn't stick in your memory as the subject you're focused on. It just piles up into your memory bank, like feeding the black pilledness, you know. Police stopped the E train looking for a suspect. Well, did you guys see that thing where apparently there was this like NYPD like officer or whatever who died in Saudi Arabia, and like the NYPD account? I'm like, wait, was he? I think he was like you know, he was military, but he was ex NYPD. But I guess but it was just kind of like, why are people in the NYPD going to the Middle East? Or is that like a career trajectory? If you serve enough in the NYPD, you get to suit up with the IDF. And gas is up almost $2 in my area. Wait, like $2 more? How much is it? How much is your area? It's like, I don't know. It's like $5 here. For $4.80 or something. $4.50. Casualties are being covered up on the American side, of course. Many other countries are reporting casualties into the thousands from Israel and U.S. Yeah, and this is typical kind of like war propaganda in general, right? This isn't just America. This is what every place does kind of during war. You don't want to, you know, tell the public how shitty things are going, especially in the first week. It's kind of like, we'll tell them later, you know, when we can figure out how to spin this. You know, how do we spin this? I think this might have been, yeah. This might have been the kind of like the worst foreign policy in America's history. Like, at first, you know, even I bought into it. I was like, what are they going to do now? Their entire leadership has, but I guess they decentralized it enough. You know, I don't know too much about Iran, honestly, to be honest. Something I guess I should also study at some point. But at this point, it's just kind of like, you know, it's already happening. People are on top of it. There are people who are big into Iran that are on top of it. So, you know, what more do I have to add about that? 4.89 gas is in certain places. $4 closer to New York City. Oh wow, I think like New York was like $1 cheaper than LA in general. So this talks about enacting the draft too. You know, I've been seeing these stories about like these 24-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 20 something year olds like getting blown up in the Middle East. I guess they have to report those. I'm not sure what the reporting kind of protocol is, but they've been saying something like, "Oh, there was like a training mistake or whatever." Everyone knows that they were killed by Iran, but like they're still doing this saving face thing of like saying it was some sort of training exercise and all this other stuff and whatever. What is Professor Zhang saying? I don't really pay attention to him anymore because I think he's an op. I'm worried about once the new Ayatollah is sworn in, he'll issue stand down. I don't know about him, to be fair. Well, the little that I did hear is that the former Ayatollah was actually more more willing to play ball, and the new guard that's coming up is a little bit more militant. We'll see what happens. We'll see if that's true. I don't know. I don't know what the situation is. I feel like we're still in this weird sort of like, you know, we're in this like limbo where it remains to be seen if America's going to commit to ground troops, if we're going to commit to anything, if we're going to, what we're going to do, like that's why this whole situation is kind of retarded, because there's obviously no contingency plan in place, because like the plan was decapitate the leadership and hope that, you know, there's going to be some sort of color revolution that does a regime change for us. Like, we got rid of the guys for you, now like do regime change, right? And then they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And so they're like, wait, we got to bomb you more then. And we got to kill more school children. That's the stupidest thing in the world about all these fucking dumbass feminists. Apparently today is International Women's Day. All these fucking retarded Iranian foids being like, oh, you ever notice not a single Iranian dude is asked about, like, hey, do you think this is good for your country? It's the same fucking shit as the WMAF mind virus, you know what I mean? It's like, let's ask these women that are being so oppressed by their Iranian men, you know, how dare they give them 70% of the engineering spots? How dare they, you know, let them work in industry and technical expertise? How dare they have more PhDs than American women? How dare they not have OnlyFans accounts, you know? It's just so fucking sickening watching all these stupid fucking Iranian foids and like be like, and none of them obviously say anything about like the 400 girls that were fucking killed at some, like, literal children that were killed at some school. It's like, how is that that's what you wanted, you dumb fucks? You're just all it's so obvious how much of a fucking like soulless shill you are. Everyone's a fucking prostitute. Like, not just in the literal sense, but yes, in the literal sense, but just in the general sense too. $2 more, seen as high as $3.06 was. Wow, that sucks. Well, some NYPD programs they go to. Yep. Heart's not in it this time, it seems. 489 gas in certain places have been talked about and acting. Let's see. Last selective service enrollment was made automatic as soon as men hit 18. What is the age range? Is it 18 to like 24? I don't know how the draft works. Does anyone know how the draft worked or used to work? The new Ayatollah is literally the son of the old one who got bombed. Yeah, I know that part. Last year, Chaos Under Heaven, please. Fong Brothers cover Presto Jang Jump the Shark. Oh God. Well, once the Fong Brothers cover something, it's just kidding, just kidding. I love the Fong Brothers. um, one of the times I'm glad not to be in my 20s. Exactly. I was just thinking about that too. Like, I saw a picture of this black dude getting blown up or whatever. It was like class of 2024, etc. I was just like thinking to myself, like, imagine growing up after 9/11, and then, let's say you're 22 years, so class of 24. Let's say you're 24 years old and you just died. Not only that, if you're class of 2024, that means you started college in like right when coronavirus started, or maybe before. Maybe you had to like skip a year. One of your freshman or sophomore years was during the coronavirus, or maybe high school. I don't know. And then you graduate from college, and you're gonna be in like the worst economy in America's like in the past 80 years. And then you just die for Israel. It's like, wow, that. It's like what? That is just kind of sad, you know. It's like, what did you? I don't know. I don't know. Son of the Ayatollah lost so much family members from these attacks. I think he's not going to be so forgiving. I don't blame him. You reckon conscripted Zoomers are likely to frag? I don't know, actually. I mean, I actually don't know how Zoomers are in general. Obviously, I'm not one, so it's hard to say for sure. Um, it was funny. I was watching Squid Games. Just like season one, just like not watching it, but just like having it on in the background while I just doom scroll. That's what I do nowadays. I just sit on the couch and doom scroll while put on some fucking thing on the. That's why I haven't been like even posting much or writing much lately. But I was watching it, and it is interesting. It's just kind of like people's psychologies do change when there's a lot of black pilled Zoomers, right? A lot of black pilled Zoomer men. What the fuck is this? Oh, that's funny. It's a snowflake. My friend's kid made me this thing, and I guess one of the the snowflakes got onto my hair from I think it was stuck on my thing. Anyway, that's the closest I'm gonna get to having a child myself. So, but you can kind of see like the psychology of people when when you're in the Squid Game, for example. I guess in the second season, you kind of have this choice of like whether you want to continue playing each game or when you want to stop and just stop at that money level and collect the money that's at that level, right? Um, and I think like that brings an interesting dimension into it where now people have a little bit more choice, right? It's just kind of like in the original Squid Game, it was just like play and then win or die, right? That was your only choice, just win or die. Um, the other one is like win, die, or choose to quit after. So that adds another kind of thing, and then that adds another sort of game theory within the other players. Like, how do we coerce the other side to, all these other kind of things. And so for the most part, before the Iran War, you know, um, I guess the choice for most Sumer men was, you know, either be a neat, NEET. I actually just recently figured out what that was. I guess I'm a neat. I've been a neat for a while. I've been well. That's not actually technically true. I guess like I do put in time to make money, I guess, but not in a educational way, I suppose. But so your choices was be a neat or, go into like tech and like all those, Web3 bullshit, whatever going on. Or I guess like yeah, it almost kind of seems like a lot of the traditional career paths look terrible. So it's like I guess joining the army is a stable position or whatever, stable job. And so, like most people, I feel like most people kind of like say, "Oh, well, if you join the army, you deserve to get killed or whatever." And I mean, fair enough, I guess, but I feel like I don't know. Not everyone woke from the womb, right? Nobody knows, part of the reason Israel and imperialism has existed for so long is propaganda, right? Like if people figured out what was really going on, it reminds me of like 9/11, you know. I was um I was 17 years old, about to turn 18 when 9/11 happened. I was in senior year. I was like thinking about joining West Point, you know. That's how bad. That's how like strong the propaganda was back then. I feel like Gen Z people. Maybe this is a mark against Gen Z people, right? Because like, or Gen Z people who enter the military. Because like back when I was like a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, you had this like nerdy ass kid like me thinking about going to West Point after 9/11. You didn't happen. But it's just kind of like, I'm reading a lot about the Nazis. I'm reading a lot about like how they came to power and all this other stuff. And I'm reading about like their propaganda, especially stuff like the Hitler Youth stuff. And there's a lot of similarities between American propaganda and Nazi propaganda in that regard. It's just kind of like, all this talk about what it means to be masculine or a man or whatever, all this culture war stuff, especially in the past decade or so. And it's kind of like when you see men today or Gen Z men, when you tell them, hey, like, these are your options, right? Either, get with this, liberal HR fascism machine, this woke machine. It's pretty insufferable. And you have to like be really talented and smart to even like hang with that. And if you make a mistake, you're kind of out of the club. Or be a neat and be kind of like one of those neto-yous like in Japan that just stay home and never leave the house and do anything. but live cheaply so you can survive, right? But live like with your parents or whatever and never leave and just be angry at the world. Um, or I guess like swallow your pride, right? I guess like swallowing your pride and doing something like a trade thing that might not be as glamorous, like construction, or ironically, I feel like construction, electrician, plumbing, these kinds of jobs, they're going to be more in demand, especially since AI is making a lot of those PMC jobs worthless now, right? But of course, it's not glamorous. It's not like the cool thing to do. Everything has been like engineered towards like, how do I how do I make money and give as little effort and look as cool as possible, right? That's the whole influencer industry. That's the whole like. And then on the other side, there's just kind of like, well, the U.S. Army's always been there. It's always, getting more and more funding. It's never not getting funding. It's never not this, whatever. If you don't really think about it too much, you're like, oh yeah, it's the Department of Defense. We're defending America. That's like a good thing, right? You're doing a good thing for the nation. You don't really think too hard about it. And like, not to say that, there aren't psychopath people that join the military for psychopath reasons. Obviously there are. I'm not saying that, but I feel like the vast majority of people who join the military are kind of like, especially these days, like 25 years ago during 9/11, yeah, there was a lot of patriotism or whatever, but I feel like a lot of them these days are just mercenaries. But mercenaries who think that they're defending something, right? They don't think that they're actually like raping and pillaging places. So I don't know. I just feel like the Gen Z people who are already in the military, I feel like, I don't know how the contractual stuff goes on or their obligations or their, from now on, so on and so forth. I feel like they're kind of probably locked in unless like they desert. And I think that's probably like a criminal offense. I don't even fucking know how that works. But I feel like the undrafted, the people who never had a inkling of joining the military, no one is fucking. Yeah, no one wants to go to Iran. They barely wanted to go to Vietnam, right? Most people didn't really want to go to Vietnam. That's why there was all those fucking protests. It was a terrible fucking. It was like, wait, what are we doing? We're going halfway across the world to stop communism from happening. How does that? Didn't we do that and it didn't really work like 20 years ago, like 15 years ago? Didn't we do that? Korean didn't work. Now we're going back again. And now we're going back. I think it was just kind of like, back when 9/11 happened. That was like the first time the Israel stuff, the Middle East stuff became mainstream for the American public. Like, again, I was a high school student. I didn't know anything about geopolitics at that time. I didn't really know anything about Israel at all. I didn't even think Israel was involved until 2004. No, 2006. 2006 or 2007, I graduated from college, 22, 23 years old. Again, I still didn't really like pay attention to geopolitics that much. But there was this guy from Malaysia. He went to one of our church, like my church or something, and I forgot why we were discussing 9/11 or some stuff around the world or events around the world, but we were discussing it, and he was saying, did you know like what Osama bin Laden's demands were. It was about Israel. It was about this and that, blah blah blah. And I was like, wait, what? And um, so it was like a very different time 20, 25 years ago. I feel like now, because of 9/11, because of Afghanistan, because of Iraq, you know, because we've been there for 20 years, and the military has full kind of like memory of this, right? They're the ones who went out there. They're the ones who fucking saw their friends get blown up by IEDs and all this other shit, and saw the Taliban take over immediately after they left. 20 is like, wait, why did we go there for 20 years? Why were we there 10 years after we got Osama bin Laden? Like, what was the reason for that? Why did we kill 500,000 Iraqi people and displace 30 million more when Iraq people didn't have WMDs? I feel like, yeah, if you willingly suit up right now, like I feel like there's less interesting suiting up right now for Iran than there was for Russia. I feel like there were more people, and maybe that's a factor too. That maybe that's a negating factor too. That how Ukraine has been doing against Russia. Like people probably thought, yeah, Russia's, as long as Ukraine's got the best stuff, as long as we got NATO's backing us, we're gonna beat these Ruskies, right? Right. That was the idea. And so I heard stories of like, mercs, like U.S. Army people. I don't know if they were ex-military or currently serving, but I heard them shipping out for like, I think it was like 2K a day for combat. Who knows if if that was worth it for them? Sure, that started, slowing down. People stopped being as enthusiastic shipping out there once they heard how it actually was by 2023, 2024. I'm sure that's not a thing anymore, but I don't hear any reports like that this go around, about people being gung-ho to be shipped out to Iran, because I think they, especially military people, they know it's not, it's not a cakewalk. Like, Iran is not an easy place to invade in general, right? It's got all these kinds of like geographical things that make it difficult to, fully kind of subdue. That's why boots on the ground is a very risky endeavor. Because they're going to be kind of like sitting ducks a little bit. And yeah, I think for the government has put itself in a very precarious situation. And it's almost kind of like, the title of my thing today is "Winning the Reverse Lottery in Slow Motion," and I guess like to explain that, when I was playing the World Series of Poker main event in 2006, 20 years ago, at first I was kind of like treating it just kind of like a story, right? Just like a story I'm going to tell my grandkids one day, right? Spoiler, it was a big story and not a story I could tell to any grandkids because I don't have any kids right now. So, but anyway, I was playing it just like kind of like as an event, as a thing. And so, every day you survive, it's like kind of the Squid Games, right? It's actually like, it's very much the Squid Game. I think there's actually like Squid Game variants in poker now. I think they call it that. But my friend or my sister, I think, called it like, yeah, it's like that must be like winning the lottery in slow motion. You know, like when you win the lottery, obviously you're read off six numbers and you're like, holy shit, I just won millions of dollars. But when you're playing in the poker tournament, like every kind of like hour or so, enough people bust out that you made like X amount of dollars, like probably like another 5% of what you previously are guaranteed or something like that, right? And so I feel like what America right now is the reverse of that. It's like we're winning the lottery, except it's the bad lottery where we know something terrible is going to happen. But it doesn't happen instantly. There's no like nuke that incinerates all of us, and that's that would be the instant reverse lottery. This is like the oh shit, don't do that. Oh wait, you did that. Okay, don't do that. Next thing you're probably gonna do when we're oh no, you did that. Oh, it's like it's like when you're running a race. It's like when you're running and you see all these hurdles in front of you, and then you just like you're running the race fine. You know, you're jumping over the first few hurdles, and then the next hurdle you kind of like slap a little bit, and you're like, oh shit, I touched the and then like you don't fucking pay attention, and then like the person watching, the spectator sees what's happening. It's like, oh shit, this is a train wreck that's happening. I can see the mechanics of this train wreck right now, you know, before it even happens. I feel like we're in this stage where 2026 has just been one disaster after another, right? One battle after another. I don't know if it's like even planned at this point. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, you know. I feel like it's hard to assign the CIA this much credit these days. It's just maybe it's just kind of like if I try to look at it from like the top down perspective, like if I were in charge, if I was head of the CIA, what would I want to be doing here? And what is the meaning of what is going on? Did I cause this, or did I want this to happen, or is this against what I want? Right? At this point, I think there's so much chaos, which ultimately might be what the CIA is planning for, but I think they might have miscalculated a little bit about like if they can control it, if the chaos gets out of control. Like I feel like in the past they've been able to control it, right? So that might be feeding into their hubris about, you know, causing enough chaos and then being able to sweep things under the rug under that chaos, but ultimately hoping that that chaos doesn't spiral out of their control. Professor Jang just seems like an op. I mean, I've watched him before. Just seems kind of like oppy, you know. Let's see. Professor Zhang said that U.S., Israel, and China are teaming up to use digital ID currency to slay the world. 100% an op. Yep. Yeah, he's kind of an op. I was thinking the same thing. Lol. Funny thing too is that real Iranian women in Iran are some of the most educated women in the world. You can see videos not covered like the women you see in UAE, Dubai. They're buying the shit out of the hospitals. What about the nurses? I thought Venezuelan diaspora was bad. Iranian diaspora is by far the shittiest, 18 to 26. But Ukraine had the same age for draft, and they changed it as high as the damn 40s. Yeah. Those videos are mostly from Tehran, which is very different from the rest of the country, but same energy. Can you talk about your activism? during the Stop Asian Hate era. That's very random. 3907. 3907. What does 3907 mean? But I don't. You're gonna have to be more specific if you want to know. I don't really even call myself an activist. I hate that fucking term. Draft is 18 to 25. I dodged the bullet just recently. Oh, are you 26? Graduated during COVID. What a shit show. I have never seen a thrive. I will have never seen a thriving America. Yep. Only seen the quality of my life go down since childhood. I remember 2007 economy collapse. My father losing his job. Sorry about that, freestyle skate. Those jarheads are taught to be allegiant to allies anyway. What are jarheads? Is that like military people? Met one of those dumbasses in the Air Force who, even though he knew Israel was trash, supported them because they're the U.S. biggest ally in the Middle East. Make Adelson's goals achievable. Yeah, I mean, before all this happened in the 2010s, I talked to some people who kind of knew how the military was. And, you know, it's very, like, cultish, apparently, where they really just kind of, like, make you worship the president. Especially when it was Trump. You know, it was just kind of like, don't question anything, just follow your orders. You know, this is how the military is. This is how the military works. If you don't do this, then you're putting yourself and other people at risk, etc., etc. Kind of like, it is brainwashing in a way. You know, I guess like any military is kind of brainwashing, right? You kind of have to have a little bit of that kind of like. But I guess at the end of the day, like America's military, especially, is just geared towards imperialism, right? And I feel like most people, especially people that age, it's easy to impression this idea of like a warrior ethic. I guess what I mean is like for young men, right? I feel like this would almost be, is like trying to think about it, like it's almost like, again, I'm trying to put myself in the position of the person in charge, you know, person in charge of CIA, the whatever, the powers that be, you know. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, we got to clear this Israel thing eventually. Right? We gotta take over this strip, build the Ben Gurion Canal, take over the trade in the region, generate Boku bucks, keep the commies at bay. You know, this is how we win, right? This is ostensibly the strategy. So if we're gonna do that, we know we have to continually build our military. We have to make sure we can get the job done. And so we have to keep this myth, this foundational myth, you know, that America is this kind of like beacon of hope, this beacon of freedom, beacon whatever. That's how, you know, we've done it for 60, 70 years. We got to keep just doing that, you know, and it's just kind of like when I see all these like, oh, Americans are all blah, blah, blah. They all knew this was happening and they played along and et cetera, et cetera. And like, you know, fair enough. That's probably, there's an element of truth to that, but it's also kind of like, it's not like anywhere else that wasn't China or the DPRK was doing anything about it either, or talking about it either. They were just like taking up the ass and doing the same shit. You know? That's the power of American propaganda. Make Adelson's goals achievable. Yeah, true. Some become radicalized from their experiences overseas. Hopefully, these younger generations realizes that working minimum wage job is better than joining the military. That's the thing too. Maybe that's the whole point of making minimum wage jobs worse and worse and worse. It's like, well, because like think about it, like they kind of like shot themselves in the foot a little bit, right? They all the smart people no longer go to the CIA, right? All the smart people, they're like, wait, I can make so much more money working in tech or finance directly. Why do I need to work for this CIA thing? Like, what, you know? So they need to recruit from somewhere, right? And so an ancillary benefit of keeping minimum wage down is that you have people willing to enlist in the military. It's like, it's a way to, you know, all those black American TikTokers with their TikToks of their houses and whatever, you know. Oh, you saw Creed playing the Dallas Cowboys halftime show and were inspired. What's Creed playing? Creed? Like Apollo Creed? Hello, SARS. What's up, new page 4723? We had soldiers who were fighting in Iraq come to our school and talk to us. I was in 3rd grade. We also wrote them letters a few times, pretty much from kindergarten to 2010 at junior high. Wow. You had to write letters to them? That's kind of weird. NEAT is greater than Navy. What is NEAT? Yeah, post 9/11, my conservative ass PA town was like that. They officially forced us to do pledge when I was middle school. They actually always had us do the Pledge of Allegiance in my school, which was pretty liberal. It's not even the Department of Defense anymore. Yep. End result, Vietnam is communist, so yes, a big waste. DPRK was pioneer of tunnel warfare, and Vietnam learned from them, so did Palestine. Yeah, exactly. I heard that telling soldiers that they will be part of a holy war or something to that effect. I mean, that was basically what the Nazis told their soldiers before Operation Barbarossa. 2020 sick. Everyone should watch Professor J. I don't trust. Plus, he's technically a high school teacher. Jarheads equals Marines. Oh, okay. Wait, why do jarheads equal Marines? From Canada. Exactly. Never trust anyone from Canada, guys. Canadians are usually scum. No, I'm just kidding. But kind of they are. If they're leftists, they're usually scum. They're usually Trotskyite scum from Canada. 2026 is just off Hail Mary after the Epstein debacle and ICE murders. USA is not ready to accept the century of humiliation. Yeah. Like, that was crazy, right? Like, the ICE murders, that started the whole year off, right? With first we thought it was, you know, Renee Good was crazy enough, right? But you could kind of maybe make the case that he was fearing for his life. Obviously, I don't believe that shit, but like, I guess you can kind of make the case. But then we saw like 5 officers like just fucking like mag dumping on this one dude already on the floor, and we're like, what are we fucking watching right now? And most of us forgot about that now, right? Now it's just the Epstein files. It was just like, whoa, what is that? What is this going? What is what? What? Eating children? What is that? What? Um and yeah, and then that was just we went after Iran, you know, last week. It's just one fucking bullshit thing after another. Um and it's just kind of like what like I just feel like I don't know. And yet I'm still doing these podcasts, right? I'm still talking about the end of the world as the end of the world is happening. Um, After a century of humiliation, unlike China, USA won't unify and thrive again because they have no civilizational ideas. Exactly. American propaganda is too powerful, working in tech and still allowed to smoke. What's working in tech and still allowed to smoke? CIA became the central midwit agency. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. The CIA still has a lot of power and control just by dint of having so many resources and so much information at their disposal. They can A/B test a lot of shit. And so never underestimate the CIA, but the human resources definitely gone down um, after the Cold War ended, right? Just by dint of economics, right? Just by dint of like the people that smart back then, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, that was probably your ticket into that um kind of arena, right? Cuz like in the 1950s when the CIA was kind of starting, they actually did recruit from, you know, HYP, like all the top places, whatever. And part of it was because the CIA was began by these investment bankers and corporate lawyers, right? So it's just kind of like, you know, it's not out of the question. Like once you did, 10, 15 years in the field or whatever, now you'd be landing a cushy job, at Goldman Sachs or wherever the fuck, or some like securities, you'd be given some sort of cushy sort of gig afterwards, I'm sure. Um, but like once the threat was gone, and once I feel like I don't know what exactly happened, but I feel like I think it was basically competition within the banking world, because I think like the banking world back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, it was pretty monopolized, right? It was pretty by American bankers, or and now that there's more competition around the world after the Cold War ended, and America isn't as dominant. Now they have to hire. They can't hire, their cousins, whatever or their whatever. I mean, they still do. There's still nepotism. I'm not saying there isn't, but these bankers need now talent that can keep them on top. So, now they had to kind of like open the doors a little bit more to the talent that's available, not just like nepotism and all this other stuff. And I think that's where a potential CIA agent now is like, wait, I don't have to do 10 to 15 years of that stuff. I could just like go into banking after college, I can, work my 100-hour work weeks for a few years after out of college, and then hopefully work my way up to doing all that stuff, make my cushy money without all that stuff. So I think the human intelligence or the human talent at the CIA has definitely gone down, but they probably still have enough resources and whatever to make it work. Um, the band Creed. Wait, is that like the "Can you take me higher"? Was that like a patriotic thing? I didn't see the fucking halftime show. How long do you think the war will go on? I mean, I am not like a war analyst. There's plenty of people. I think Jackson Hinkle does a good job. There's War Monitor or whatever. I would not have the faintest clue as to how long this is going to take. All I can say is that from what I'm reading online, all of America's options are bad at this point. Failing getting that color revolution going, it now has to decide if it wants to cut its losses and claim a victory and say, yeah, this was just to stop Iran from making nuclear weapons, all the yada, 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 all that bullshit. And then leave. But then, obviously Iran's now going to actually make nuclear weapons, I'd hope. And I don't know. I don't know. It's just like there's no good option for America to do now that would also save face, but also not make things worse than it initially was. It's just kind of like what. But yeah, I mean, if the war continues on, I am seriously considering like starting to think about leaving. Like, because I'm just like I said last time, maybe this is just the thing that has to happen. Maybe America has to learn from its mistakes, right? That's the dialectic, right? That's how history moves, or that's how people learn, right? When you're a kid and you look at the stove and you're like, oh, maybe it'd be fun to put my hand on the stove. And the stove's really fucking hot and you burn yourself. You're like, ah, fuck, that was not fun at all. But you learned, right? Now you don't put your hand on the stove. America's been fucking bombing everywhere. But its hand was never burned, But when it starts to bomb places and yeah, things don't go well, maybe that's the thing it needs. But if that's the case, I don't want to be here. I don't want to get my hand burned, I don't want to have my hand burned. I already learned the lesson. I already learned my lesson. But it's a hard question to answer. I don't know. Like, I mean, the best thing is like it ends like this month we cut our losses and we're like, whoops, sorry about that. Let us now destroy Israel. That would be the best outcome. Obviously, that's not happening. But yeah, that would be the shortest. But let's say it goes on. I mean, like, what is our goal? What is our objective? If our objective is to like actually bring down the current Iranian regime, that is going to be a serious fucking like. That would be so fucking terrible. I don't know. Who knows how long that would take? Who knows if we're even successful, right? Gulf of Tonkin was what, 64? We didn't leave till 75. That was 11 fucking years. Not to mention we already had assets in the region already before 64 anyway. And obviously things are different. Technology is different. That was a different time. Whatever. Who knows? It's hard to predict how long it's gonna be. But I mean, fuck. I mean, we're still 4 years now. We're 4 years now into fucking the Russian SMO. Everyone thought that was gonna be over. Everyone's like, every time the Americans are like, it's gonna be over. You know, they said it was over by Christmas for Korea in 1950. It ended up being another 3 fucking years long. I don't know. I don't know how long it's gonna be. You know, something was suspected when Fung Bros started covering Professor Chan. Well, it's more that Fung Bros are just, they're not the, I don't know, whatever. They're fine. I don't have that much beef with the Fung Brothers. I'm not gonna shit talk people I don't have that much beef with. Turning a new leaf, guys. Turning a new leaf. You know who else is from Canada? Simu Liu. How's Simu's show doing? I think it did well. TV show. I don't know if it's Copenhagen test. Release 1.1 billion streams. Wow. Third most viewed show in America. Highest concentration of Asian viewers across all top 10 titles. 12%. So I guess a lot of Asian people watch that show. I guess a lot of Asian Americans, I suppose. Does it have a season 2? Has not been officially renewed for a second season. That's weird. I feel like 3 months or two and a half months now, I guess. That's not a good sign. I don't know. I don't know what Peacock's kind of like directives are at this point. If it did get that much views but not already a second season green light, I'm thinking something behind the scenes might not have been so good. But I don't know. Hard to say. Hard to say. All I know is I didn't watch the show. I don't plan on doing it. David Tate, exactly. Canadians acting like they are on the side of the global south is so hilarious. Bunch of hypocrites there. Yeah. Canadians are pieces of shit. Anyone from Europe or Canada being like, oh, Americans, you guys are so evil. I'm like, fuck you, you piece of fucking pieces of shit. You guys are fucking Nazi scum. 5 ice pounding on an ICU nurse that worked at a VA hospital. Wait, this happened recently? Samson option still on the table. End of the world is still possible. It's the end of the world. Have you reached out to Matt Kim recently? No, I think he's been busy. He said something. What did he say? Has he? I talked about Roger Ver. I think that he's trying to do some sort of DAO token thing with the social media company he made to try to like make a social media that's independent from financial interests. I don't know, that kind of thing. I think he's busy with that. I don't think I've seen an episode from him in a while though. Right? Yeah, the last one was a month ago. Wow. Wait, this was almost 2 months ago. He hasn't been posting in a while. Oh well. I don't know. Don't know. Didn't watch. Lol. CIA recruited heavily in college. Starting salary like 60K in the early 1990s. See, that's pretty good. In the 1990s, 60K was a fucking amazing starting salary. But I think like in 2006, as a management consultant, I think I'm trying to remember. I think we had a 65 plus 10 to 15 bonus as a first year management consultant. So I think around the 2000s is when more and more people like me started to go into just um, management consulting or iBanking. You know, I heard people are making like 120K their first year altogether. It was like 80 plus 40 or something, or 90 plus 30 or something like that. Their first year analyst. Of course, they were also working 100 hours a week. So it's more like $20. It was like $20, 30, 20. I think one of them calculated it was like kind of like $20 or $30 an hour after you actually like, you know, calculated the amount of hours he worked for that. But the point is, like, you could make a decent amount of money without having to topple governments or assassinate people or be responsible for the murder of children or genocide, you know. So that was a lot more attractive to a lot more people, I think. Marvel is getting so desperate, they're looking for an actor to play the Korean Hulk. Oh, God. Can Marvel just die? I'm just, like, fucking over Marvel. Probably feel like Hoppa. Yeah, exactly. Any good books about aliens? Do you believe in aliens? Where would you move to? Do I believe in aliens? I would say no. Only because I feel like the answer is either no or irrelevant. Because like there hasn't been, like, let's say aliens did exist, right? Then none of them clearly have had the technology to contact us by now. Nor we had the technology to contact any of them, right? So then, yeah, it's irrelevant. I think it's a fine sort of thought experiment to have, but as far as actual, I don't know, empirical evidence, you know, there's nothing that's like concrete that I believe. Um, where would I move to? Well, you know, China's always a consideration. Vietnam as well. Um, you know, a place where it's like Cheers, you know, where everybody knows your face, do do do, and they're always glad you came, do do do, of course, it's not gonna be perfect, obviously. Like, I'm a 42-year-old unk, gonna be trying to start a new life in a new place and new whatever. But it beats probably being fucking stuck in Nazi land where they'll put us into fucking concentration camps again. Um, so just have to figure that out, right? Professor Zhang. Why are we still talking about Professor Zhang? What about Professor Zhang? Start learning Korean and Chinese if you are Asian. Let's be real. America needs to faceplant on said stove. Then they may learn. On technicality, Korea is still at war. Yep. I mean, maybe people just need to get that stove faceplant. Asian people turned out for Simu. He's the Asian James Bond. Did you watch the show, David Tay? Aliens are a psyop. Yeah, I mean, they're just associated with the FBI and CIA. So it's just kind of like Great American Exodus will be something studied for generations. We had to cancel our trip to Canada for New Year. Would have still been there when war broke out. Wait, why'd you have to cancel the trip for the New Year? Probably would have been tempted to not come back to the U.S. The real aliens are the Y people. The Y people. Y people. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Anybody else come up across anything new to this week? I don't know. Sorry, I just didn't have that much to talk about this week. It's just the same old shit. Same old fucking shit. We're all fucking waiting for the hammer to drop. We're all waiting for the fucking bass to drop. Oh, well, sorry about that. I shouldn't have asked. I retract my request of wanting to know what else is going on. Apparently, terrible shit. Stocks are dropping. Oh, one thing I wanted to ask you guys, actually. So, remember that shirt my sister got? So this is the original kind, but apparently it's not correct the way my sister wanted it, because she wanted these things to be not curved like that, and this to be part of the print of the shirt, not a separate color. And so I've got extras of those, and then she gave me the corrected version, which is, see how the thing is corrected here, and now this is part of the shirt, it's not part of the so that's the corrected version. So I wanted to turn this kind of into a Yellow Knight shirt, but my sister was a little skeptical as to how many of you guys would be even interested in buying one. So I wanted to poll people. What would people be willing to buy this for? Like, how much would you be willing to pay for it? And how much are you actually interested? And would there be, I guess, like, she wanted me to do a pre-order, so I'd know kind of like the ballpark wise how much to order. So the idea would be that shirt. It would be this shirt. And this probably wouldn't be the first shirt, but I want to kind of like just start something. But it would probably be a red shirt. It wouldn't be blue. It'd be a red shirt. It would have the same print or whatever, but then it would have like, this would probably be blue instead because it'd be red, but it would have like Yellow Knight podcast like logo at the bottom with like a little bit of yellow on the podcast logo thing. Yeah. So I don't know. You could just I'll poll the Discord later on, and like depending on how many people respond to the Discord, I'll buy a certain amount, and we'll see how that goes. If that goes well, maybe I'll do a second shirt, or more of that printing if people want more of that printing, obviously. And take it from there. Do kind of like DPRK shirt ideas. I've been thinking about that ever since, like, Christmas a couple months ago when my sister made me the shirt to begin with. I guess this is the final, like, corrected version, so that's all fine and well. I wouldn't blame you with what's going on. Dad passed away. Oh, yeah. Stonks are dropping. Are they dropping? Finance. Oh, shit. Let's see. Year to date. Oh, they're only down 1.5% from the year. Man, this 5-year chart is kind of crazy. But seeing it from like 2010 is even fucking crazier. Like, just like doesn't stop going. And just kind of like this is not good. Like, it looks good, but as a market person, I'm like, this does not look good. Don't spend the t-shirt money on weed. It's so random. Yeah, red would be better. Be the Reds, 2002. All right, so like this with the But then you can see the kit. Where would the flag go? Where would the flag go on this? I don't know. Maybe I would do it for a different shirt, different idea. I think for this one, we're just doing. Actually, I'm gonna get her to on the back. All right. How about whoever wants the shirt? Well, how about this is the first shirt, okay? We're going to see how this goes. Press 1 if you're even interested in buying the shirt, okay? Or, I don't know. Yeah, just type in 1 or something so I can just get a rough estimate. Because I understand, too, like, having someone's face on your shirt is kind of weird. Especially my face. I just thought it'd be an interesting idea. Get more people interested in the podcast. Be like, what the hell is that shirt? Why are there 3 North Koreans and this other random Korean dude on your shirt? Get the conversation going about, oh, there's this crazy guy I listen to on the internet. He's just as crazy as those other Kims. There are all the 4 crazy Kims, but they're crazy awesome. 1. Okay, so 5 people. All right. Let me get my sister on it. I will make the first shirt. I don't know. We'll see. What do you mean black would work? What black instead of blue? This shirt is just gonna be the first shirt. I don't know if will Feds be tracking me for wearing the shirt. Probably, but who cares, right? Attritional list. Just DM me afterwards. I have to kind of like vet you in order to let you in the thing. I got a vetting process. Just DM me on my Twitter. I'll try to see a request if you DM me for the Discord link. Are you going to sign it? Yeah, black or gray instead of blue. Wait, so you wouldn't want red, Andrew? I'm only saying this because apparently you got to make it the same for the first thing to economies of scale and all that shit for these kinds of shirts and whatever. I don't fucking know. Like, if you buy more, I got to find out how much things cost if you get like 25 or 50. I don't know, like, what the fucking... All right, so let me just think about it. 5, whatever. I'm not gonna make anything just yet. I'm just gonna do some research, see how much it is for you guys, and then if it's good to go, we'll get it to go. Why not put Yellow Knight logo on the back to promote your stream? Well, $9.99. Well, I think those were actually more. Well, they only got like 3. My sister only got like 3 or 4, but it was like 20 per. So whatever. Anyway, I'll think about it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't even know how these things go. If like you can get like some sort of site that could just sell it for you. I'll just do more research about that. Fuck. Alrighty. I'm gonna bounce unless somebody has anything else to say. I don't know. Just feel like there hasn't really been much going on except for just more and more fucking slop. There's nothing really more to like. I feel like people are starting to realize the things I've been saying, like especially about the black military people being all like psychopath or psychotic online. I don't know. Do you know China Mac? He knows how to handle merch. I don't know him personally, and yeah. I know him like, you know, tangentially, but I don't know him personally, unfortunately. All right, new page. Thank you. I'll talk to you guys later on Thursday. Hopefully I'll have something more to say by then. Alrighty.